what I've said. The agreement is that they pled guilty to a misdemeanor theft of government property.
Don, what do you see as the problems with this case?
The problem in this case actually began at the very beginning of the case. Jermaine Hill, who is the confidential informant former sheriff's deputy used to investigate the case, was known by the sheriff's office to be a corrupt individual. They had investigated him for a number of felony activities. They had investigated him for providing protection. They had internal affairs investigations regarding his assault of fellow officers or citizens, and yet they accepted his word in identifying who corrupt officers were. The most troubling thing for me is that I knew all of these officers before this happened. I knew Marcus Lattimore, DeCarlo Lattimore, much more closely. He had worked with me when I was with the Georgia State Fair. He had worked providing security for our fair office during the fair time. And I knew that he was not a corrupt officer. And rather than identify officers who truly were corrupt and ask Mr. Hill to help bring those people in, they allowed Mr. Hill to identify the officers and to proceed against those people that he knew he could target to get himself out of trouble. You know, Hill told them that Jimmy Denson was a bad cop, that he was taking money, that he would take money from people, and nothing could be further from the truth. Jimmy Denson was a good cop, and Jimmy Denson was an officer who, because of his personal situation, had financial problems and was susceptible to being handed money, basically, and Hill knew that and took advantage of that. Mr. Denson had a number of family members that had died in the recent years prior to this time. There were a lot of burial expenses that needed to be covered, and he was trying to help cover that. So Hill knew that all he had to do was give Mr. Denson the opportunity to have some extra cash, and he would probably take it. And that's, he took advantage of that.
And what other problems have you had with discovery in this case?
The problems with the discovery in this case are fairly legion and are documented in court filings that we have put in place. The government initially gave us all the bad stuff about our clients, but because of my experience in handling these kinds of cases over the years, I knew there was information that we should have had that was not there. So we kept pressing and kept pressing and kept pressing, and finally, just over the course of 6 months, have finally gotten all of the information about this investigation, all the background on Jermaine Hill. That's when we found out about the 20,000 phone calls that they had recorded on Mr. Hill's cell phone that they initially did not tell us anything about, and things of that nature. It has been a problem from the very beginning.